Hi, today I'm going to show you how to take your violin out of its case. I'm going to talk about how you can care for your instrument, and we'll hopefully be able to do that and then put it back in its case properly. So the first thing you check is that your handle is on the bottom side of your case and that it's in a secure position on the floor flat or on a table flat, something like that. Then after you do that, you face the case. Mine has two zippers. Yours might have two latches. And on the latches, if you have those, you just lift up on the bottom of the latches. And then mine has this flap, but yours might just open after you undo the latches. This case has another latch here. So for you, do whatever is required to unlock the case. And then you're going to lift up on the very top of the case so that it's open. And just leave it there. You should see that the scroll is on the left side. The scroll would be the top of the violin. Now I have this blanket, so I'm going to take the blanket off and just set it aside so I can see my violin. And then you'll notice that the violin is held in with Velcro. So I'm going to undo the Velcro carefully, still leaving the violin sitting naturally in its case. Then I'm going to take my left hand and put it under the neck of the instrument. I use my right hand down here and hold it with two hands, bringing it gently into rest position. This is called rest position. When I do that, I want my elbow to be on the shin rest, so down here, and then just put my hand up here, my right hand up here, so that I avoid touching this bridge. The bridge is not secured by any glue, so if you hold it like this with your elbow above the bridge, you might put pressure on it and it could collapse. So we always try to avoid touching the bridge in rest position. So at this point, when you're in this position, you can take your other hand and help hold the neck here. And you could walk around like this, you can stand up or wait for instructions from your teacher. The next thing that we're going to talk about is how to care for the instrument in terms of temperature. So your instrument is most comfortable at temperatures where your body is most comfortable. So where you don't want to have it in too hot of a climate or too cold of a climate. For instance, if you were to go out with your violin and leave the case in the car and go into the shopping mall and then come out of the shopping mall, you wouldn't want to do that for very long, if at all, because then it could get too hot or too cold depending on the weather. Make sure you bring it in from the garage when you pull in as well, if you park your car in the garage. The other thing it's sensitive to, besides temperature, is humidity, which is how much moisture is in the air. So in a climate that's very dry, you want to watch out for it not to go below 30% humidity. And then also if it's wet in the air, then you don't want it to go above 60% humidity. So your house might be in a certain temperature, so just check that. Humidity, so just check that as you're caring for your instrument. The next thing I want to talk about is cleaning. So you should have a cloth. It should be soft, something like t-shirt material would be fine, or maybe one that came with your violin. You never want to use anything that is wet on your instrument. And what you do is you'll find when you play with the bow, you'll get some dust on your instrument. And so we just very gently wipe it off under the strings and over the strings when we're done playing every day. So this is something that's stored in your case, and it's an important part of caring for your instrument when you're finished every day practicing. So the bridge, as I said, is not secured with any glue. So it's held, you'll notice, it's held on by the tension of the strings. So the strings are attached down here by this part called the tailpiece, and it's also secured in up here by what's called the pegs. And so when we get into a future video about tuning, you'll notice I have a fine tuner here that can turn, and a student can do this, and we can learn to tune that way. But when we are beginners, we don't want to turn the pegs, because if you turn the pegs too much, you're going to break the string which isn't a bad thing except for that it's expensive and you can't play your instrument until you get it put on again by a person in a shop or by somebody who knows how to change a string. The final thing I want to talk about is that when we need to go from rest position back into the case, we'll talk about putting the instrument away. So you turn back towards your case with your body, still try to have two hands on the instrument. You're going to grab it by the bottom here, put it back in gently the way it was, and always settle it in and then connect the Velcro again. If you forget that step, it could be unstable in the case. And then you take your rag, your soft cloth, you wipe off the violin underneath the strings, like on the wood there, and then above the fingerboard and on the strings. And then we just secure it, we just kind of place the soft cloth in a compartment. And then we remember to just go in reverse order. So we put that back in, now we have our blanket to put on. And then we shut the top of the case, still the bottom is secure, the bottom case hasn't moved at all. We latch it. If we have zippers, we shut it. If you don't shut your case with latches, shutting it, and you took the handle and lifted up, do you know what would happen? Your violin would go spilling onto the floor, right? So always latch your case before you grab the handle. It's a very important part of taking care of your instrument. And at that point, you are ready to travel to your next destination with your instrument in its case.